Okay, I'm breaking this lecture down into the different areas or punctuation marks we're going to be covering, just to make it a little more digestible. If you have tried to digest the whole thing, it's about an hour long, so let's just take a little slower and let's look at the period. Usually a period is used to end a sentence. We knew that, but there are exceptions, there's different rules, and let's talk about a couple of these exceptions. So, what about indirect questions? He asked where the boy was. Well, he's at the person that you're talking about here is asking a question. So you would think you would use a question mark, where's the boy? But that's not how we're stating it. We're stating it as a statement, a sentence. So he asked where the boy was, or where's the boy? You would end that with a period, not a question mark. We also use periods and abbreviations. And look in the AP style book as far as abbreviations are concerned, and the different ways they're abbreviated. Usually two initial abbreviations like US or UN will have periods in it. So the U period, S period is in debt. If it's three letters like FBI or CIA, you usually don't have those periods in there. If it's bigger than that, like OPEC or NASA or something like that, yeah, it becomes its own pronounced words. But in this case, the abbreviation or the acronym in this case would have no periods, but all the letters would be capitalized. Decimals in the US, we do use decimals with numbers. So the debt is more than $27.5 trillion. In some countries, they'll use a comma instead of the period for a decimal point. So it would look like, 27 comma 5. But what they mean then too is still 27.5 trillion. So that's where you might also see the period. Inside quotation marks, well, that's where a period goes. That's where most punctuation goes, inside the quotation marks. So, quote, we are late, comma, also inside the quotation mark, end quote, he said, since the sentence continues on, we won't put a period there, comma, open quote, and lost, period, end quote. Notice that the and, since it's part of a continuing sentence, doesn't get capitalized. So the full quote is actually, we are late and lost. The attribution, the he said, is put in there between we are late and lost, since it's a good breaking point to introduce who the speaker is, in this case, he. Yeah, you would just set that off by commas. So, quote, we are late, comma, end quote. He said, comma, open quote, lowercase and, lost, period, inside the quote, end quote. If you're going to have parentheses, which are kind of an aside in your sentence, if you have a full thought, you put the period inside the parentheses. So we won, period, comma, it was close, period, close parentheses, because it was close, full sentence, full thought. So the period goes inside the parentheses. Now, if it's a partial thought or just a single word, the punctuation, the period in this case, would go outside. We were late, parentheses, almost, close parentheses, period. Almost isn't a complete thought or a complete sentence, so the period goes outside of the quote. Period questions, which you should not Google. What if the sentence ends in an abbreviation? We've used the abbreviation for United States already. You would only use the single period at the end. That's part of the abbreviation. No need to double punctuate anything. And it's very rare that we use two punctuation marks next to each other. An exception is the interrobang, which is actually a single character. It's an exclamation point and a question mark joined together. And that would be when you're basically shouting a question. He went where? Yeah, question mark, exclamation point, or even better, the interrobang, the actual correct punctuation mark. So in my example here, we travel across the U period S period. No need to add another period after that. Just use the period that came with the abbreviation as the ending sentence period. Do you use a period after a question mark? No, why would you? Question mark period. See, it looks wrong. The question mark is the end of the sentence, so no need to add a period after that. It looks wrong because it is wrong.